to another episode of Hunt Fit 365. We're going to talk a little bit about hunting in pressured areas. We're in the state of Michigan. You still can kill quality bucks. You just have to do your due diligence to scout, find spots, that possibly could be landlocked. There's good, sanctuaries that people can't have access to. You're going to totally rely on your sense and your calling and getting in strategic areas. We're going to go in here and scout. Yes, it's in the middle of the summer. Sometimes you don't have the option to do a post or preseason during the optimal time, which is spring before the green up. But we're going to go in here. We're going to follow the property. We're going to utilize our Onyx to get in here and find good, tight core areas and follow us along. Walking along this edge, see rubs on the trees, nice and low like that. Obviously a yearling. Looking for signs just with deer activity. Not a mature buck, but that stuff what you're looking for, just bigger size. Come back here about a couple hundred yards, find an old logging road. Obviously there's a runway right straight down the center of this. Optimal spots to find scrape lines. Easy travel path. Your older bucks will use the path of least resistance. So when you get a nice area like this, I see looks like a primary scrape right here. Not the best licking branches, but there are some, but looks like they're traveling this pretty heavy. One of the best indicators that you found a primary scrape, most of the time they're put in a path where there's a good travel corridor. You'll see multiple runways, they'll split, it'll pinch down into an area. Mosquitoes are thick, but anyways, it'll go into a nice pinch point. Usually that's the best place for a primary scrape area. You'll see multiple runways coming to that point. But a bunch of these runways coming together with a big primary scrape next to like water, or just I'm looking for a knob. That's a good runway right here. You see it, honey? Look at the size. Come into areas that has big select cut, you find a big mature red oak or white oak being their favorite. But these are areas you need to slow down and really check to see if they're producing acorns. But these areas the deer will gravitate to. And then you also early in the season see plenty of good rubs coming and leading from these areas. So that'd be a good feeding area, as marked that on the Onyx. Bunch of deer tracks. This trail is really run down pretty good. Even through all the green up, you can really see the trail. Deer are pretty strategic. They go from bed to feed and feed to bed. So when you're scouting and you see an open tree line like that, go to it. Usually the deer will skirt that. Could be a wetlands area, swamp, hard to access. Could be a ridge, could be multiple things, but you want to get to those spots and see exactly where the deer are transitioning around. Go up and around this deadfall. So when you get to downfalls like this, you got areas of good heavy downfall. Just know that deer will utilize these for wind shield, and your big bucks and other deer will utilize this for a bedding area. Downfall is good. When you guys see trees that are grown over, old rubs and stuff, pay attention to these areas, because if a mature deer used it once, deer later on will use the same path, so always pay attention to the old rubs too. Looking in this open sky, I see that it's definitely a wetlands area. The deer will move around it for easiest path of resistance, so we're going to skirt this edge. This is some of the best areas to find entrance and exits for a big buck in and out of the swamp, especially islands or trees that are in the swamp that they can bed under. The best way to find these routes, scrapes, rubs, especially if you can find rubs on both sides of the tree coming into the same path. It means they're using it morning and night. When I'm traveling through areas in the swamps, I try to find hardwoods intermixed or just small patches of hardwoods. The bigger, older deer that'll go onto these dry spots and they'll bed in those areas if it's secluded, and they'll utilize that for daytime. They'll get up, they'll forage, they'll feed midday in the security of their bedding area. So, you know, when you find an area that's heavily rubbed, or a cluster area that's rubbed, usually a buck spends a lot of time there, either transitioning to feed, getting up out of his bed, coming to a safe zone to travel. He'll have a lot of rubs there. Super cool areas, exciting areas to find. You know that it's a good area to set up. But it's only going to be good for a certain time of year. Fresh tracks on the leaves. Heading that way, Bill. Don't get discouraged if you spend all day looking for the right spot and it doesn't come. A lot of times it don't. Probably 3 to 4 every scouting trips will set up into one possible lucrative spot to hunt. So a lot of times pack light, maybe not even bring your setup, mark it on your phone, on the onX, and go back to it. When you're walking through, make mental notes of the things you see. We've seen a 2-track, primary scrape, seen the big feeding area with the big red oak, and then now we've got another bottleneck that's coming together, multiple runways coming together. Just make mental notes of these and then mark them on your onX, and so things will start to reveal themselves. So you know exactly what's where the deer are going to be coming from, and just keep scouting until you find that sweet spot. So when you guys get up to points protruding in the swamps, a lot of times the deer will hit these points and it becomes a nice tight little funnel. So definitely pay attention to these points. Yeah, see, they got one big runway coming through, skirting that way. Makes for great areas to hunt. Doe bed, bedding area. A lot of times too, this is a good travel corridor, travel area. Here's another little rub. You've got two on this point, multiple beds facing different angles, notorious for doe bedding area. They'll bed in groups and they'll face different areas, utilizing the wind to their back and their sight on their back trail. Definitely a lucrative spot to be close to hunt. Don't be too quick to set up a spot when you see things like this. Try to get around the whole property so you understand exactly the layout and how they're moving through the property before you set up.
This would be a good pre-rut or rut spot.
it's a nice like pinch point into the swamp, so they'll use that to evade predators and stuff. So honestly, this could be good. Most special bad weather because you got thick pines and stuff, but also during rut because you got, you know, high numbers of does traveling to and from this point. So both. I believe this to be a primary scrape. It's harder to tell after the green up, but it's a notorious scrape underneath the tree, multiple licking branches, and then they'll use some of the conifers and some like spruce and stuff like that because the needles they're able to put a lot of their forehead gland scent on the trees. So. Another old rub. Looking to be a pretty good area for deer movement and rut activity. Your older bucks will definitely use the least passive resistance. The passive resistance, I say. Instead of jumping fences, they'll go around. Instead of going through real thick, nasty areas, which they will if they're under pressure, but on a daily basis, moving from bed to feed and feed back to bed. Passive least resistance when the buck starts getting older. They're kind of like, just think of it as an old man. Likes his lazy boy chair, likes things easy. It's structured and they don't move far, they lose their core area shrinks. Put that all in factors when you're looking for trophy bucks. Another good old rub too, and yeah, a lot of people are like, it's not fresh, but it's a path where bucks in the past are moving. You can see tines. A rub will tell you a lot, the height, how many, you know, if there's shrubs, a big shrub that's being torn up, usually from a big framed animal. Look at other areas on the tree where the antlers are hitting. It'll indicate, you know, width, antler height. The higher that there are the taller the rack. These are dead giveaways for a lot of things about a structure of a deer's antler frame. Jeez, it's caught on me.
Hold on, hold on, hold on. Where am I? Gotta pull it. Pretty thick.
Yeah, you definitely got all the cover you need. You got the swamp, you got cover. There's definitely going to be mature animals in there. Problem is I don't see established feeding zones and areas. So when you're lacking nutrition, you might have age, and you might have genetics, but without proper feed, you'll never reach your full potential. The thing I see a lot of people doing is getting their structured little area, and you know, they have their same stand in the same place or the same food plot or the same tree, and they continually use it over and over. Every day the deer catch on to you, they start avoiding those areas, going around. When you mix it up and don't give the deer a chance to, you know, identify where you're at and where the danger zones are at, that's when you start killing bigger bucks. Yeah, don't go this way. Let's try to cross that somewhere. This is the areas though.
This is the areas that what?
This is the areas when you cross, other people are going to stay on this side. So the harder the access, the better the hunting spot. Honestly. Definitely under pressure.
Here, use a stick. Test that area.
We got a bunch of travel. Look at all these ferns knocked down, running in two different directions. Look at those runways. Boom and boom. They're all going across.
Well, how mushy is it with
It's mushy. You're gonna sink deep.
with the deer? That's why I gave you a stick. Go check it out with the stick.
That deep, 1.5 foot. So you can see all the tracks.
So how far are the deer going? And way up the top of their legs?
Probably
Just
up,
across this path.
probably up to their kneecap. Probably.
That
Yep.
important.
Yep. Boom and boom. Two paths crossing this, going to the other side. So from the primary scrape to where we're at right here, this is the small river way right here. All low, all marsh, all wetlands. And we're gonna go ahead and save this spot. Honestly, this looks like the easiest way to get across this. Stay close to the tree stump, find a log, you don't sink. Step on tree roots. Stay on top of these logs, because you will sink. It's like having a snowshoe on, right? And catch deep snow and across.
The things you'll do for hunting.
You have no idea.
Oh, goodness.
For a while.
I feel like we're on the island of the river thing, the
We're
creek.
almost across it, though, babe. Biggest thing too is it takes several times to get back in here to mark trails and have a nice clear path to the road.
I think I would like a pair of rubber boots next time.
Oh yeah, we've got them at the house too. But we're across now. Go back up just a little bit, see what the deer are heading. Deer know when they cross waterways. It's like a level of security for them. The road from last year, just antlers. Nice little pine. Here's a runway coming through straight through the center. Good one. You know, when you get back in here, there's not much competition from other hunters when you cross a waterway like that. Just coming across here after we pass the river, the height of the rub, it's an older rub, bigger volume, like a bigger circumference on the tree. When you catch a big buck, you'll have rubs like this, and when they chase the same area year after year, there'll be new rubs over top of this old one. When you're in the dense area like this, the first thing I see is a big canopy of a hardwood tree. Those are notorious spots I like to walk to and see if there's any rubs, see if there's heavy feeding. So obviously that's going to be a feeding destination for a big woods buck. And look at this, I come up here and a big old runway leading right to this tree. Multiple running ways dispersing from this location. Old rubs from previous years. Now this is a good feeding destination spot for a big hardwood area. Phenomenal. Look at this cluster oak. Runway here, old rubs. Honestly, if you want an early season buck to show up and to harvest a decent buck, this is going to be the area for it. Big red oaks, a couple of them amongst all this small canopy of trees. This is exactly where you got old rubs here, runways dispersing through this area. This is definitely a destination area. Look at the size of some of these red oaks. Look at the size. This is definitely going to be a spot that I mark on my Onyx. This is kind of like this is the infamous hubs, spokes on the rim. You got multiple runways coming in and out of here for a destination spot with these big red oaks on both sides. And there's no other feeding areas other than one red oak about a half mile, 3/4 mile from here. And literally there's a highway dispersing in every direction from this location with multiple rubs coming into this spot. So it's a feeding destination for more than one mature animal. I could set a rope and just be up in there too. Because even Eberhard said even right into the, because we got some good cover right here with these pines next to this. Don't think too that you have to be super high, because you can be, 14, 15 feet. I like to hunt 30, 35 feet high. Creates a poor shot angle, but over the years we've kind of learned and adapted. But something like that even work. This is beautiful, dude. Not that far from the road either. Makes it easy in and out. Come in through your back door. One straight trail in and out. Make sure that you're all scent free and do what you can do to be scent free to get in here. This will work. Look right down the center. If you view here and view here, you can see two highways going both sides. This would be a perfect location too to make up a mock scrape, because it's one of those big feeding destinations, but also a pinch point. A high volume of deer travel through here and have traveled through here, making this an absolute excellent spot for a feeding destination mock scrape. All right, guys, that's a wrap for that soaked. Mosquitoes got about a gallon of my blood, but we're done. It should be a successful spot. We should kill something early season off this destination. So until next time.
You're not gonna